For over a century, Tesla's suppressed invention was hidden, but now engineers in Africa claim to have rebuilt it, and the results are shocking. Nikola Tesla's name has always been surrounded by mystery, genius, and untapped potential. His groundbreaking experiments with electricity and wireless power changed the world, but many of his most radical designs were never allowed to reach the public. Among the most controversial of these designs was a blueprint for a self-sustaining energy machine, a device said to draw power from the natural forces of the Earth itself. Governments, corporations, and competing inventors allegedly worked to suppress this technology, fearing it would undermine the industries built on coal, oil, and later nuclear energy. Tesla's notes were scattered, locked away, or outright destroyed after his death in 1943, leaving behind legends of what could have been. For decades, historians debated whether his so-called banned blueprint was real or simply myth, the wishful dream of a man ahead of his time. But today, deep in the heart of Africa, a new chapter is unfolding. A team of engineers, innovators, and visionaries have announced they have successfully reconstructed Tesla's forbidden design. Not in secret laboratories of Silicon Valley, not in the polished research centers of Europe, but in Africa, a continent often underestimated in the global race for innovation. The project began quietly, tucked away in a workshop in Zimbabwe, where researchers claim they studied Tesla's surviving diagrams with meticulous detail. They pieced together fragments from old patents, scattered journal entries, and even rare archives that had been digitized and leaked online. Slowly, they rebuilt the design step by step, creating a modern version of Tesla's machine. At first, few believed it would work. Skepticism was rampant, and even the team themselves admitted they weren't sure what to expect. But when the device was activated for the first time, the lights in the room flickered on without any connection to the grid. No fuel, no battery, no traditional generator, just a machine harnessing invisible forces, pulling usable power seemingly out of thin air. Word began to spread quickly across local communities. A tiny prototype was said to have powered not just lights, but small appliances, a water pump, and even a television. For villagers who had lived for years with unreliable electricity, the demonstration felt nothing short of miraculous. Could it be that Tesla's suppressed invention had truly been brought back to life? The implications were staggering. Imagine homes running endlessly without bills. Villages off the grid lit up at night, entire nations bypassing the cost and pollution of fossil fuels. The world has long been addicted to energy monopolies, but this breakthrough suggested the rules could finally change, and the fact that it happened in Africa made the story even more electrifying. For generations, Africa has been portrayed as a consumer of outside technology, always catching up to the West. But now, with Tesla's blueprint reborn, Africa was not just catching up, it was leading. The engineers behind the project remain cautious. They know the history of suppression surrounding Tesla's work. They understand that powerful interests might not want such a device unleashed. Already, whispers of corporate pressure and government surveillance have emerged around their efforts. Some fear that, like Tesla himself, this African project may face attempts to shut it down. But unlike in Tesla's era, the world is different now. Information flows freely across the internet. Prototypes can be replicated, documented, and shared within hours. And people everywhere are hungry for alternatives to the energy systems that have failed them. The question is no longer whether the blueprint is real. The question is whether the world will be allowed to use it. To grasp the magnitude of what's happening, we need to go back to Tesla's original vision. Tesla believed that energy was not something to be hoarded or rationed, but something freely available in the very air around us. He experimented with the Earth's electromagnetic field, cosmic rays, and resonance frequencies. His famous Wardenclyffe Tower, built on Long Island, was designed to transmit wireless energy across great distances. But when investors realized that such a system would make it impossible to meter and charge for electricity, funding dried up. The tower was eventually demolished, and Tesla's dream of free, universal power was buried. For decades, textbooks and mainstream science dismissed these ideas as impractical, even fantastical. Yet, here we are, more than a century later, with engineers in Africa proving otherwise. Their device, according to reports, works on principles of resonance and field amplification. Instead of burning fuel, it taps into naturally occurring oscillations in the environment. Think of it like a tuning fork picking. Up vibrations, except instead of sound, it resonates with energy. Once synchronized, it channels that energy into usable electricity. The simplicity is deceptive. The parts are not exotic coils, capacitors, and magnetic components. But the configuration is what makes the difference, a geometry Tesla believed could unlock endless power. It's a system not about generation, but about extraction. Like drawing water from a well, except the well is the universe itself. Skeptics argue that this sounds like pseudoscience. Yet, demonstrations in Africa are forcing even critics to take notice. Videos shared online show bulbs glowing and fans running without visible sources of power. Independent observers have visited and confirmed that no wires lead to hidden batteries. Of course, the question remains, how scalable is it? Powering a few lights is one thing. Running an entire city is another. The African engineers insist that this is only the beginning. They claim that with larger builds, the output could multiply exponentially. If true, this could rewrite the future of global energy. And not just in terms of technology, but economics and geopolitics as well. Imagine nations no longer dependent on oil imports. Imagine communities generating endless electricity without building massive power plants. Imagine a world where electricity is no longer a commodity, but a right. This is the vision Tesla had over 100 years ago, and now Africa is daring to fulfill it. The symbolism is powerful. A continent once stripped of resources is now turning to the most abundant resource of all, the energy of the universe. Tesla's banned blueprint was meant to be silenced forever, but innovation has a way of resurfacing where it is most needed. The engineers behind this African project speak passionately about their mission. They believe that by making the technology public and widely available, they can prevent it from being stolen or suppressed again. Their hope is to open source the design, allowing builders across the globe to replicate it. Already, whispers of collaboration are spreading to universities, research groups, and independent inventors worldwide. It may not be long before variations of this machine appear in unexpected places, and once millions of people see it with their own eyes, there may be no turning back. Still, there are dangers. Energy companies wield enormous influence and resources. History has shown that disruptive technologies often face sabotage, misinformation campaigns, or outright bans. Tesla himself was labeled eccentric and ignored by the establishment, despite his unmatched genius. Could history repeat itself, or will Africa's version succeed where Tesla failed? The answer may depend on how fast the technology spreads and how resilient its creators remain in the face of opposition. For now, hope is alive. Every night, in small African towns, homes are lit by a machine born from Tesla's vision. Children study under bright lamps. Farmers run pumps to irrigate their crops. Families watch television powered by nothing but resonance and ingenuity. These are not distant dreams. They are realities unfolding now. And if the technology continues to grow, it could spread across the continent, then across the world. Tesla's banned blueprint was never truly lost. It was waiting for a time when humanity was ready, waiting for a place bold enough to embrace it. That place, surprisingly to many, is Africa, and that time, against all odds, is now. As the word spreads, more and more people are asking the same question: why Africa? Why was it here, and not in the advanced labs of the West, that Tesla's vision was reborn? The answer lies partly in necessity. For many African nations, energy poverty is a daily struggle. Millions live without reliable electricity, relying on kerosene lamps, firewood, or expensive generators just to get by. While wealthier nations debate about renewable energy targets and carbon credits, people in rural Africa face the basic question of whether their children can read after sunset. Necessity, as history often shows, breeds innovation. The engineers behind this project were not motivated by profit or prestige, but by survival and hope. They grew up in communities where blackouts were common, where progress was shackled by a lack of energy access. When they encountered Tesla's writings, it was more than theory to them. It was a possible key to freedom. They saw in Tesla's blueprint not just a machine, but a revolution. And so, with limited resources but unbreakable determination, they began to build. Unlike governments or corporations bogged down by bureaucracy, these innovators had nothing to lose. Their laboratories were humble workshops, their tools often secondhand. But they had passion, persistence, and the spirit of Tesla himself whispering through his century-old words. Step by step, they decoded his cryptic diagrams, experimenting with coils, circuits, and resonance. Many attempts failed. Machines sparked, wires melted, and prototypes collapsed. But failure only fueled them further. Each mistake was a clue, each setback a step closer. Until one night, after countless trials, they flipped a switch and the impossible happened. A bulb glowed, then two, then three, powered by nothing but the device. The room filled with stunned silence, broken only by the hum of electricity flowing from an unseen source. In that moment, history shifted. For the first time in over a century, Tesla's forbidden vision was no longer theory, it was alive. As the device was refined, demonstrations grew larger. A small refrigerator was powered. A pump drew water from a dry well. Fans cooled rooms without wires. The implications spread like wildfire across the community. This wasn't just about comfort. It was about survival. Electricity meant preserved food, clean water, and education. It meant businesses staying open after dark. It meant clinics running equipment without relying on expensive diesel generators. Every new test brought hope, and with it, new believers. Soon, whispers reached local leaders. Some dismissed it as a trick. Others demanded proof. So the engineers invited them to witness the machine in action. What they saw left them speechless. Here was a machine with no fuel tank, no plug, no connection to the grid, and yet it powered entire rooms with ease. The leaders realized what this meant. Energy independence, economic freedom, a chance for Africa to leapfrog past the systems that had chained nations for decades. No longer would they need to beg for foreign investment in massive power projects. No longer would they be bound to oil imports or rising electricity bills. With Tesla's blueprint rebuilt, they could create their own future. But with opportunity came danger. The team knew the history of suppression. They had studied how Tesla was sabotaged, how his tower was destroyed, how his reputation was smeared. They understood that the forces standing to lose billions would not remain silent. And already, signs of interference began to appear. Emails were hacked. Strangers showed up at demonstrations, asking suspicious questions. Offers of money poured in, not to develop the technology, but to buy it out and bury it. The engineers refused. Their mission was not for profit, but for people. They vowed to keep the design open and transparent, sharing as much as possible to prevent any single entity from silencing it. In this age of the internet, suppression is harder than it was in Tesla's time. Files can be uploaded, blueprints can be shared, and videos can go viral in minutes. And that is exactly what began to happen. Clips of the device powering homes spread online, drawing millions of views. Scientists across the globe debated the footage, some calling it groundbreaking, others demanding replication. The pressure grew, and with it, global attention. News outlets cautiously reported on the African Tesla machine, sparking curiosity in viewers everywhere. In forums and universities, students dissected the claims, eager to try their own versions. The ripple effect was unstoppable. And slowly, the dream of universal free energy no longer seemed like fantasy. It seemed within reach. But the biggest question remained, could this machine scale up? It's one thing to light a home. It's another to power a city. The African engineers insisted that the design could indeed grow. Just as a single solar panel leads to a solar farm, a single resonance unit could be expanded into a larger grid. They envisioned entire villages running on nothing but Tesla's blueprint. Factories humming, schools lit, hospitals operating without fear of outages. If achieved, it would mark the greatest energy revolution since electricity itself. And the fact that it was happening in Africa would rewrite the global narrative. For too long, Africa was portrayed as a place of scarcity, always dependent on outside help. But now it was offering the world something priceless, a new way forward. Tesla's dream, once silenced in New York, was reborn in Africa's soil. The irony was poetic. The very place overlooked by empires was now holding the key to liberating humanity from energy empires. The more people learned, the more they realized how disruptive this could be. Entire industries could collapse. Fossil fuel empires could crumble, energy monopolies could dissolve overnight. The balance of power in the world could shift dramatically, and for once it might tilt in favor of the people. But revolutions are never welcomed by those who profit from the status quo. The engineers knew this. They worked quietly but spread knowledge widely. They trained young students to replicate the design. They published simplified guides to ensure that even if they were silenced, the technology would live on. It became not just an invention, but a movement. A movement rooted in Tesla's vision but carried forward by Africa's determination. Movement to free humanity from the shackles of artificial scarcity. For Tesla, the fight ended in obscurity. But for Africa, the fight has just begun. Every day the prototype runs, it proves that energy need not be a commodity. Every bulb it lights challenges the monopoly of power. Every home it energizes whispers that Tesla was right all along. The stakes are enormous. If the project succeeds, history will remember it as the moment humanity broke free from the chains of controlled energy. If it fails, it may join the long list of suppressed dreams buried by greed. But the difference this time is clear: Africa will not let it die quietly. From tiny villages to bustling cities, people are demanding more. They want to see the machine scaled. They want it in their schools, their farms, their hospitals, and as demand grows, so does pressure on governments to act. Some leaders see opportunity, pushing for funding and development. Others feel fear, unsure of how to manage the disruption. But whether embraced or resisted, the idea has already escaped. It is no longer a secret blueprint locked in a vault. It is alive, replicated, and spreading. Tesla's banned blueprint has found its way back to the world, and this time it will not be buried. From New York to Lagos, from Harare to Cape Town, the spark has ignited. And perhaps soon, the entire planet will feel its light. The dream of free, universal energy, suppressed for more than a century, is finally breathing again, and its heart beats loudest in Africa.